Today's digitally connected society can trace its origins to a point in time found not so long ago. The Industrial Revolution. This chapter in our history is one that established the bedrock of our modern society. The structures we walk on today are underpinned by foundations placed in those times. We live in a world forged on a legacy of steam and coal, fueled by sometimes outrageous ambition. Our ancestors were led away from simple farming huts and onward to new hopes and dreams. We were to give up our primordial cadence, forgoing the natural patterns of the sun, trading them for the rigid schedules of the soot-filled factory. Their journey forged a world we'd recognize, for it's the one we own today. As digital leaders striving to forge a vision of tomorrow, we must stop and pay homage to our industrial age, for it's another one of those profound instances in our history where change was in the air. It ushered a multifaceted transformation for our species. Before the dawn of the Industrial Revolution, the rhythm of life was dictated by the sun's arc across the sky. The majority of humanity's waking hours spent close to home and dedicated to the grueling demands of an agrarian life. While toil exists into this day, our ancestors knew the most. They rose with the first light to tend to fields, nurturing livestock, and filling the waking moments with the toil necessary for survival. The myriad tasks necessary to sustain life made each day a repetition of hard labor, hands digging into the earth, planting seeds, hopeful of a fruitful harvest. This relentless cycle of toil was the price of survival. With steam and machine, mechanized manufacturing moved us away from the subsistence farm and away from digging with our own hands. We moved toward burgeoning factories, and this helped to form urban centers, which became teeming with new opportunities and challenges. Cities swelled as people flocked towards these hubs of industry, drawn by the promise of employment, prosperity, and a new life. The Industrial Revolution is a vital turning point in our collective history. By reflecting on transformative forces of those times, we can gain valuable lessons about our own moment. Understanding the significance of the industrial era takes us to England in the early 1700s. Coal, a traditional source of warmth, had been used for centuries. Burning this material was a way to deal with the frigid climates of Northern Europe. But by the early 18th century, we began to use this energy-packed resource in new ways. The world was learning to harness the power of steam. By heating water, then superheating the steam vapor, machines of various functions could generate kinetic motion. And such motion could be turned into useful benefit. As this discovery took hold, industrial enterprises' demands for steam increased, and coal quickly became the chosen energy source. In its humble beginnings, coal's industrial use was found in small-scale brewing, smithing, and textile operations. But more and more, industry was turning to the power of steam. And thus England's green landscapes began to give way to the soot and clamour of mining operations. At first, coal was easily accessible and near the Earth's surface. But as these sources were depleted, and as the world's appetite grew, miners were compelled to dig deeper, chiseling ever further into the bowels of the earth. We can scarcely imagine the toil-ridden and dangerous places these early mines must have been. They were prone to collapse and fraught with peril. Sadly, these places were often deadly traps. In particular, flooding became an increasing problem. The shafts were prone to inundation from groundwater and underground sources. Such risks were viewed through the lens of productivity loss rather than human tragedy. But nonetheless, there was a demand to mitigate the flooding issue and to ensure the unimpeded flow of coal. Here we find another example of the human spirit at work. Thomas Newcomen would create the atmospheric engine, a steam-powered marvel of its time, powered by the very coal it would help to extract. This machine would convert steam into kinetic energy, allowing its piston pump system to draw water out. With dry mining shafts, miners could continue extraction in relative safety. As the demand for coal increased, so did mining operations to extract it. Now enabled to dig deeper, the coal industry began in earnest. Industrial gears all around England began to turn to the power of steam-induced strides. And with it an ever-increasing momentum. The thrusts of steam engines could be heard in every corner. And with them, an insatiable hunger for coal and its manufactured goods. While flooding had been overcome, demand for this fuel created new logistical challenges. In particular was the problem of connecting the raw material with remote destinations. It's here we're able to witness the onset of another very special machine. Another one of those solutions that appears out of imagination. And when it seems needed the most, it was within this climate of necessity and opportunity that the world would see its first railway. The Liverpool-Manchester rail line was established to provide transportation. It would serve as a vital link, connecting the port of Liverpool and the cotton mills in Manchester. George Stephenson, already recognized for his pioneering work with locomotives, took on the task of constructing this critical artery. His expertise and relentless pursuit of innovation was instrumental in overcoming the natural and man-made obstacles. The completion of the Liverpool-Manchester Railway in 1830 marked a monumental achievement in transportation history. Liverpool, with its expansive docks, served as a vital maritime gateway, helping to facilitate the import of raw materials and the export of finished goods. Manchester, burgeoning with mills and factories, epitomized the industrial fervor of the age. With this new transportation link complete, the profitability of rail was on display for all. As a consequence, Great Britain would soon be covered in rail lines. And with these new lines, the nation would be forever transformed. Throughout human history, we've witnessed countless instances of technological innovation. Yet few resonate like the era of steam-powered transportation. It unshackled people from their geographic confines, and it gave individuals from all social and economic backgrounds the means to traverse vast distances. It became a democratization of new experiences and allowed exploration to new horizons. These iron giants, powered by coal and mustered along by steam, brought liberation from the isolation of rural life and set humanity on its long path toward interconnectedness. Yet, as we delve deeper into the Industrial Revolution's legacy, we're to appreciate not only its technological achievements, but also its significant ethical awakenings. The advent of steam and coal did more than bring power to machinery. It made clear the need for a new moral compass, something strong enough to navigate us through a whole range of new challenges. The Liverpool-Manchester Railway was indeed a marvel of engineering, but it also exemplifies this dual nature of progress. On its inaugural journey, tragedy struck. William Huskisson, a distinguished statesman, became the first widely reported casualty of the railway era. On a day meant for celebration, he was mortally injured by Stephenson's locomotive. It was a painful awakening. And it would soon be clear there'd be need for a whole range of new rules and protections. Coal mines, the powerhouses of the Industrial Revolution, were no different. Miners, including children, labored under perilous conditions, faced with daily threats of cave-ins, gas explosions, and the devastating impact of black lung disease. It meant that every descent into the dimly lit shafts was a gamble with life itself. Eventually, as the horrors of unregulated industry began to appear, there was a resulting public outcry. With the grim tolls of industrial labor exposed, industry leaders and lawmakers were compelled into action. The early 19th century Factory Acts was an important first step toward regulating working conditions in factories and mines. These laws limited working hours for children and would introduce standards and accountability in working conditions. The outcry for safety reflected a growing acknowledgement. Business ethics mustn't be ignored. Profit, as compelling a force as it is, should not be prioritized over human well-being. The path to comprehensive labor rights and safety standards has been fraught with resistance. Each advance met by the reluctance of those who'd profit willingly from unbridled gain, and even from those with good ambitions, who in their haste might be too eager. Today, as we chart our course through the digital landscape, we must not be burned by the very fire we attempt to wield. For this, we must hold the lessons of the Industrial Revolution close. The same powers that bring great benefit can bring great harm. Modern innovation, like its industrial counterpart, often outpaces our safeguards. From the early shadow of steam engines to the glow of computer screens, we must remember the honest truth that we don't hear often. Progress can be dangerous. Paths that seem alluring may indeed take us forward, but they almost always hold invisible peril. In digital times, leadership means learning to navigate twisting paths and learning how to weave around unforeseen bends. We digital leaders emerge not just as thought experts, but as guardians on the path. In our modern era, the concepts of security and reliability transcend mere procedural checklists. They embody the foundational pillars upon which we build our digital reality. Safety guidelines, compliance measures, and industry regulatory frameworks are not bureaucratic hurdles. They're meant to instill trust into a world which hinges on software and hardware, and the engagements they bring. As digital leaders, we aim to enrich those engagements. And that means the digital systems of our age must be built to be as reliable and secure as possible. Software and the networks we build to run them serve as the modern structures on which we place our weight. We must build systems worthy of trust. In this context, data is of particular importance. Just as steam brings power to the engines of industry, it's data that brings power to our age. It's a wild force, with great potential to unleash damage far beyond intended boundaries. Digital leaders must be mindful of data. We're to be advocates for its protection, and we're to teach others to treat it with reverence and caution. These efforts are crucial for the security they provide, and ultimately for the trust they instill among users, stakeholders, and the global community. As we continue to navigate this era, remember, it's often the most vulnerable amongst us that depend on us the most. As the leaders of our time, it's our responsibility to ensure the digital future we are building is not only innovative, but also reliable, inclusive, ethical, and secure. I'm your host, AI.